Now, President Trump is currently feuding with White House advisor and former campaign manager Kellyanne Conway's husband. So that's George Conway, who is a conservative attorney, right? So now he's been on Twitter and he has been criticizing President Trump as being unfit for office and mentally ill, right? And look, on Tuesday, and I covered this story yesterday. Um, he tweeted, okay, so he tweeted these things today. It's actually yesterday on Monday that he tweeted out the DSM manual, um, and also tweeted in response to Trump critic Bill Kristol. Um, I'm sorry, no, that's not who he tweeted in response to. This was another Trump critic. Um, don't assume the things that he says and does are part of the rational plan or strategy because they seldom are. Consider them as a product of his pathologies and they make certain sense. And so this was, I believe it was Anna Navarro that was trying to make a point of, his tweets and his distractions, they're all a plan to get people to not pay attention to what's going on in the Mueller investigation. Now, I think the Mueller investigation, there's a chance that will be underwhelming. So that's a problem, and that's a course of different discussion. Now, he also tweeted in response to Bill Kristol, to Republicans who have been inclined to acquiesce in a Trump renomination in 2020, read his tweets this morning. Think seriously about his mental condition and psychological state. And then tell me you're fine with him as president of the United States for an additional 4 years. That's Bill Kristol. That actually happened earlier on Tuesday. To which Conway had retweeted to add this, agreeing with this, but would add that all Americans should be thinking seriously now about Trump's mental condition and psychological state, including and especially the media, Congress, and the vice president and cabinet. Now, what's important about that is that it is the cabinet that can actually invoke the 25th Amendment to remove a sitting president who is mentally ill and or unfit for office. So now that's really important to point out. So here's George Conway tweeting out possible mental illnesses that the president might have and saying, look, this is what the president's doing. This kind of matches up with this particular mental illness. Now, that would be narcissistic personality disorder. Now, in another tweet, he added, his condition is also getting worse. How would you know that? Well, we'll talk about that in a minute. But first, he got a response from Trump's 2020 campaign manager, Brad Parscale, who said this, quote, we all know that Donald Trump turned down Mr. Kellyanne Conway for a job he desperately wanted. Excuse me. He barely worked at the Justice Department and was either fired/quit, didn't want the scrutiny. Now he hurts his wife because he's jealous of her success. POTUS doesn't even know him. Trump then, of course, quoted Parscale's tweet and then said, a total loser. Isn't it kind of amazing how Parscale's tweet sounds a lot like Donald Trump wrote it? I mean, I'm just saying. It sounds a lot alike. Maybe they are a lot alike. Now, George Conway, of course, fired back at this, saying, congratulations, you just guaranteed that millions of more people are going to learn about narcissistic personality disorder and malignant narcissism. Great job. Tell us, Donald Trump, which of these diagnostic criteria do you not satisfy? And of course, he tweeted out a list of some of the symptoms of narcissistic personality disorder. And they are having a grandiose sense of self-importance. I think that might apply. And look, I'm not a mental health professional, and I do have to point that out. But boy, he does seem to have a grandiose sense of self-importance. Just saying. Is preoccupied with fantasies of unlimited power, success, or brilliance, beauty, or ideal love. Believes he is special and unique and should only associate with other high-status people. requires excessive admiration, takes advantage of others, has no empathy, is envious of others or believes others are envious of him, and arrogance. Now, look, just looking at that list, a lot of people would be like, man, sure, that makes sense. I mean, we can go through and we can look at some of the things. But again, I'm not a mental health professional, and neither are random people on Twitter, to be fair. But I still think, looking at what he's done in office and things that he says and the half-coherent sentences that he tweets out or and that he, utters when he's on the podium, look, I think he is unstable. I think he's mental. I mean, look, I'm not the only one either. There was an anonymous op-ed written from inside the White House that pointed out a lot of these things and also said, but don't worry. And it came with a caveat. We have adults in the room that are in control of Trump. At that time, John Kelly was working at the White House. And a lot of people that were working at the White House are no longer working at the White House. So are there still adults in the room? I don't know, and that's kind of a scary thought. And speaking of those people who are no longer in the White House, a lot of them have decided to cash in with book deals. And all those books tend to say the same thing, that the man is unstable. He is unstable, and look, he fits a lot of the criteria of having a narcissistic personality disorder. And look, he is prone to doing illegal things without remorse, asking people to do illegal things on his behalf. And now here's George saying, the guy's getting worse. Now look, maybe that's a casual observation from somebody who happens to have been paying attention and is very concerned. Or it could be that maybe he knows who the author of that White House op-ed is. Maybe, or might even be living with that author. Who knows? Speculation, right? And again, this entire segment is basically speculation. I don't know Trump's mental status. But I wouldn't be surprised if there wasn't something wrong with him upstairs. But it is clear from what I've seen and the people that have been serving in the White House, they think he's mental too. And that, look, right now, the hypocrisy about this and the sad thing about this is the Republicans probably know that he's insane, that he's got mental problems, right? Or they'll assume he does. And instead of being honest about this and coming out in the open while they're in the cabinet or pursuing the 25th Amendment, they're instead waiting till they leave office, writing books, and cashing in. That shows that they put themselves over the country. And so that, again, that's problematic, right? And look, I just hope that either he loses in 2020 or they get enough balls to do the 25th Amendment to remove him before he does something insane and rips the country in half. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a patreon.com/TYTNation set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent, progressive media.